This screencast will take you through the exemplar for today's activities. Please click on the exemplar of the SFSD UDO Lesson Planning Flowchart. From here, you will be taken to the planning flowchart and the exemplar. The first step is to break down the standard and to develop goals. To find a link to the standards, you click here and you will be taken to Mary Lofi's website, which has all of the different standards. For the exemplar, we chose a 3rd grade Writing Common Core standard to write narratives to develop real or imagined experiences using effective techniques, descriptive details, and clear sequences of events. We then unwrap the standard, deciding which part are the skills and which part are concepts. And we have those skills. We look for the verbs that denote action, and concepts are things that your students will need to know to develop the skill. So we broke those down and we said to write narratives and develop experiences were skills, concepts, effective technique, descriptive details, and clear event sequences. From there, we listed a potential goal. We chose a concept goal, and that goal was to take clear event sequences and develop that concept. So our goal is students will be able to distinguish between cause and effect and recognize temporal words in order to be able to create clear event sequences. We then changed that goal into student-friendly language. I'll be able to tell the difference between cause and effect so that I can tell someone using temporal words the order in which things happen in a story. So again, we are going to have to teach students what temporal words are in order for this concept to be developed. We then chose an assessment that we would be able to use. This one is going to be a formative assessment. So our learning target again was students will develop an understanding of cause and effect in order to create clear event sequences. So we again are focusing on the clear event sequences. So our assessment, we're going to have students read a passage from the textbook and write out the order of events, labeling events which are causes or effects. Now we have included a rubric right here in order to really tell if the students have developed the concept on their own. We do have a rubric right here, and the rubric is in clear language, and it states exactly what we need the students to know and if they have reached that standard or not. The third and fourth part are to develop flexible means and methods and materials. In order to do this, we are going to identify some of those goals, or barriers, and then how to overcome them. So right here, our first barrier is the inability to distinguish relative information. So we are going to use the guidelines to help overcome this barrier. So when we went to the guidelines, we found that checkpoint 3.2, highlight patterns, critical features, big ideas, and relationships, was one way to overcome the barriers. So what does that look like? If you click on there and go to 3.2, we'll go down here into the multiple means of representation. And then we can go down and you can go through and explore the different checkpoints. This is a very powerful tool. So it explains the barrier and how to overcome those barriers, and even gives you some examples of resources that may be available for you. So going back to our exemplar, how are we going to overcome this barrier? As we teach cause and effect, we will color code the cause and effect in each passage. So we went down, and another barrier would be the lack of vocabulary. So we went to checkpoint 2.1 to clarify vocabulary and symbols. And again, if I would go to the checkpoints right here and go to 2.1, it's going to explain that checkpoint and it will give me some solutions or possible solutions to overcome that barrier. So from that, we chose, as we teach cause and effect, we will provide digital copies of passages and train students to use Read and Write Google and the use of the visual dictionary. We will also provide student copies with visuals for students who struggle with keyboarding and the use of technology. We will also provide a list of temporal words, and we put the list right there. So this is how we have used this planning guideline to first look at the standards, break down the standards, make a goal, how are we going to assess that goal, and then how are we going to overcome those barriers. We invite you to really dive into the exemplar if you need to, but to really dive into those UDL guidelines and use that as a resource in your planning. Thank you very much.